Hey, what's up, buds? Nat here from Wake Up Wednesday with Nat. Hope you've had a good week. And even if you haven't, I like to say that's completely okay. Thus is life. And with that, I decided that today I wanted to talk about and be completely transparent with you all on really where I'm at with some things and the intention behind this channel and this space and what I hope for all of you and really what I hope for myself in this journey with you. And that's really about the dark work. So Wake Up Wednesday with Nat. Hey, maybe you think the name's pretty cute, maybe it's catchy, it can be all of those things. But the name really comes from waking up to ourselves. It's not a literal wake up in the morning, get out of bed, get ready for the day. It's really, hey, wake up to yourself, wake up to your life, wake up to recognize whether you're being an active participant and an active player in your life, or if you're just kind of cruising along on autopilot, which so many of us are. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I'm clearer than ever at this point that my mission and purpose in life is to make my generation and help the next generation become as self-aware as possible. Why is this important? Well, I already mentioned that a lot of us are living in autopilot. I know I was for a huge part of my life. An even bigger part of my life, I was living in survival mode. And we'll talk about that on a later episode. But being on autopilot and really just cruising through life, letting things kind of just happen to us without reflecting, without giving it much forethought, without being engaged enough to make a decision or acknowledge if something is right or if it's wrong. We're just constantly moving. We're just constantly moving and things are just happening. And very rarely are we paying attention. And so wake up is wake up to you now, the life that you have now. We can talk about waking up to the person you used to be and who you might be now and making way for the person that you are capable of becoming. But for right now, how about just waking up to this moment and where we are in life? How are things going? Am I having the same conversation every day with myself about how something is really terrible or how this person keeps just doing the same thing, and it's constant? Like you start to feel like you're this hamster on a wheel and nothing ever changes. That's what this is about. That's what the dark work is about. It's being brave enough, if I can. Brave, I guess, is the only real word to describe it, because a lot of people won't set foot in this area for fear of what they might find and what they uncover, and they don't want to look under the bed, and they don't want to move the rock and look in the deep dark hole, because it's scary down there. There are experiences, there are memories, there are events that we want to avoid, whether they were incredibly traumatic or they just left a bad taste in our mouth. We hope to not have to recall them again. And sometimes there are things in those deep dark holes we weren't even aware existed, and plays even more into us operating on autopilot. So this is incredibly heavy on my heart today because I have done the dark work now for going on 6 years. I was in a really bad spot 6 years ago mentally, but you never would have guessed it just by looking at me from the outside. From the outside, I looked like I had it all. I was in my late 20s. I had a great job. I had the car. I owned the home. I had the great guy. I had the looks. I had the body. And for all intents and purposes, anybody I'd walk by thought, what does she know? Life must be so easy for her. She's got it all figured out. She has no idea what the rest of us are going through. And I worked really hard to keep up that facade, to keep up that curtain, so that everyone else just kept thinking that that was true about me. And only now that I've done the work and that I'm super clear, do I realize that I wasn't keeping the curtain up for them to keep everybody else fooled. I was keeping the curtain up to keep myself fooled. I thought I was being clever and pulling a fast one on myself. I thought, hey, if I just keep doing all of these things, it's going to be fine. But that's the problem, isn't it? we spend time trying to avoid what's going on in our bodies, in our hearts, in our minds, what our thoughts are coming up for us. And sometimes we do this intentionally, and other times we really are on autopilot and not thinking about it. For me, again, full transparency on today's episode, this is just how I'm feeling. For me, 6 years ago, I was using sex and I was using food as the main coping mechanisms. That was just to cope if I had had a bad day. That was what I used to avoid real life. That's what I used to distract myself. That's what I used to feel good. And some days when I just felt like I didn't feel anything, like I was so depressed, I didn't feel anything, I would use food and sex to help me feel alive, to help me feel something. And if I'm being completely honest, there was a third one. And the third one was this innate attraction to wanting to help everybody, and that if I didn't help and I didn't do this and keep on that person and follow up and do all of these things and be in everybody else's business, that they couldn't get by without me. So they all needed me. Needing to be needed was the third thing for me that I used. A lot of times we think of the obvious ones like drugs, right? I mean, drugs and alcohol, those are not the problem. There's another problem, and people are using those to escape, to feel better, to feel anything. But there are others, aren't there? I mean, especially nowadays. I've named mine, but shopping, but definitely things like shopping, phones are a big one, technology. And then the idea of being workaholics or being just too busy doing all the things. Kids, even if we're constantly living vicariously through our kids and we're too busy getting them from one activity to school to the other activity to dinner to ever really stop and sit and like check in with ourselves, that is also that's also addictive behavior. We're using that to avoid feeling the things that we're feeling or are afraid might come up if we sit still long enough to feel them. So I've done my dark work, and now you know a little bit more about me. I've done my dark work, but I want to say this. Just recently, something happened with somebody, and it was a really bad interaction. The other person was very disrespectful. They were demeaning, they were degrading, they belittled me. They were very unprofessional in the way that they interacted with me. And once I disengaged from that interaction, I was able to verbalize to them, hey, this is unacceptable. Please don't treat me like this. I will not tolerate being disrespected. But I was feeling bad. I was feeling angry. And because I have done the work and because I have awakened, I was able to identify that I'm not angry at that other person. They treated me terribly. I'm not mad at them. I'm actually mad at myself. And I was mad at myself because I was feeling in that moment that I should have been stronger in shutting down the behavior immediately when it was happening in that interaction. Not wait until after and then say something, but in that moment, why didn't you just shut it down, Nat? Why didn't you just say, this is not okay, we're done, I'm getting off the call? I couldn't. And realizing that I was angry at myself also then helped me work through, did I do the best I could? Was there another option for me? And as I was able to start talking through some of that and feeling what I was feeling, eventually by the end of last night, I was crying. I went from feeling very angry, which usually is also a mask for something. It's usually, it's fear. Really underneath anger is fear. And I was scared. I was scared of the unpredictability of the other person, but I ended up just crying. And I went to my support system, my husband, and just kind of let those feelings come through me because they had to. And doing the work allows us to have those moments of being able to stand up for ourselves whenever it is. It doesn't always have to be in the moment, but being able to tell somebody, it takes courage that, hey, I'm not okay with this. Number one. Number two, then being able to take a step back and reflect and say, what actually happened and what is going on within me? What is going on within me and what do I need nourish myself, to nurture myself, to help overcome this. But the worst thing, and this is what I would have done 6 years ago, is say, I had a bad day, I'm gonna go binge. And I would binge, you guys, I would binge on a dozen donuts and 2 spicy chicken sandwiches from McDonald's, straight up. And I would eat in a matter of like 10 minutes or less, just shoveling food. And then eventually when that didn't become enough, then there was the sex that I was talking to you all about. And always, there was always playing in the background, my need to try to help and save everybody else. That would make me feel so good. I didn't do that. I felt angry. I let myself feel angry. I let myself feel sad. And eventually I let go of that and felt scared. And then eventually just felt sad. And that progression only happens if we're willing to sit in those feelings long enough. That is the dark work. And the dark work to get there helps us to be stronger in facing that, so we don't feel like we're just this like egg that's going to crack, right? Like this like soft shell. I know that's probably a bad analogy or metaphor or whatever it is. That's just going to crack. And that's how I felt for a really long time. So I wanted to be transparent today in saying that I don't talk to you all in this community on a pedestal. I don't say, hey, I've done my dark work, I've got it all figured out, please come sit at my feet, learn. I will show you the way. I'm still in the way. I'm still learning as things come up too. What I can tell you, my biggest marker has been is the resiliency factor, is that because I've done the work that I've done, that I'm able to bounce back faster, and use different coping strategies. But before, something like that horrific, humiliating interaction would have knocked me on my ass for weeks, maybe even months. And now I notice that I can get over things maybe in a couple of hours, at most a couple of days. And then it's fine, and I can work through it, and it's back to life as normal. So the rebound is quicker. And that's something that we'll talk about too, a little bit more in detail, of building the resiliency, building that get back up muscle, because the shit is going to knock you down, but you have what you need within you to get up and just keep moving forward. But we don't want to do it on autopilot. We don't want to do it avoiding, ignoring, numbing, escaping. We want to do it fully embracing what's going on. I hope that's been as honest. I hope that that's come across as honest and genuine as possible. I struggled with sharing this today, and my husband said, you know what, just tell the truth, just be honest. And that's what I'm doing. And so I want to leave with this, because even as I'm sitting here today, I can feel it. The other part of the interaction is that I tense up. And when I tense up, I recognize that my back will end up being very achy and in pain for several days after whatever the situation or interaction was. So again, just another advantage of doing the work to actually wake up and be actively involved in everyday life and moment to moment for yourself, not for anyone else, not your kids, not your spouse, not your boss, nobody but yourself, will help you to recognize some of those things. There's so many people living with illness and disease, and a lot of those illnesses and diseases, if you look up the root cause or what it is, I'm don't quote me on this, but a lot of the ones that I have looked at, inflammation, some kind of inflammation in the body. What is the biggest contributor for inflammation in the body besides food and diet? Stress. And very rarely do we look at that. So as I'm sitting here, my back is literally killing me, and I have to work to release all of that tension that I was holding. But because I was so tight in that interaction, now I'm suffering with body aches, and I have no other reason to have a backache except for that situation. So being mindful allows you to reflect, allows you to, it's the first time I use the word mindful, but that's what it is. And some people shy away from mindfulness. But being actively involved in your life and waking up to how you're living every moment is advantageous for your physical body, for your mental health, for your mind, for your heart. And then the biggest one will be for all of your relationships. So I truly hope that you found this helpful. We'll continue to get into the nitty-gritty of things. I'm very happy I got through this without crying. I don't know, part of me thought I was gonna hit record and start crying or something, and that's not the case. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy that I think I got all my crying out about that situation. So I want to continue to encourage you as you watch these episodes to just check in with yourself. Even if you don't have a prompt from me, check in with yourself. This is what I will leave you with for this next week is, how have you been feeling lately? How have you been feeling? Stressed out, sad, happy, in physical pain, fighting all the time, ready to burn all the ships at the shore, or whatever the saying is. How have you been feeling? Think about that over the next week if you haven't already. And if you have been, then I'll add a little modification here, almost like a more higher level yoga pose. If you have already been checking in with how you're feeling, can you try to identify if there are certain parts of your body that feel tight or tense as you're feeling those things? Bring it to the body. We'll build more on this later, but I definitely challenge you to at least start there. Doing those little exercises helps with that waking up process of what's going on here, what's going on with me, and it'll help. So think about how you've been feeling over the next week if you haven't done so already. If you have been doing some of the work and reflecting and checking in with yourself, build upon that and try to see if you can identify parts of your body that might associate with how you're feeling. Thank you all so much for joining me in this space, allowing me into your home, into your car, wherever you're listening from, hey, into your head. I really, really appreciated it from the bottom of my heart. I hope that you'll join me on this journey. I believe that we can make a massive impact in the world by starting with ourselves and being more self-aware, and then helping those around us to hopefully use the same tools that we'll use and help them open their eyes as well. I love you guys. I care about you. I believe in you, and I see you, and I will see you next week.